right, it's 5:30 on September 6, 2022. Let's call the Civil Aviation Board meeting to order. Ms. Vicki, will you do the roll call?
Chairman Curtis,
Here.
Member Elvis, Vice Chairman Leslie, Mayor Morris,
Here.
Member Tejas,
Here.
Member Vidal,
Here.
Member Martinez.
I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome our new member, Robbie Tejas. Welcome to the board.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate your willingness to serve and look forward to doing good things with you.
Well, I look forward to trying to help out and getting involved a little bit.
Has everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes from the August 2nd meeting? If so, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I move for approval of the minutes from the last meeting.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the meetings from the August 2nd, 2022 meeting. All those in favor, say aye.
Hey, man.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. We'll move into the director's report, and in traditional fashion, we're going to turn the floor over to James. I encourage any of the members to please ask questions as you see fit, and let's open this up and have a constructive discussion.
Thank you and good evening, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chair. Give you a project update at the airport. The airport fencing project, which started January 17th, is still ongoing. We ran into some supply issues, same old, and now we're running into the networking for the gate openers apparently wasn't put into the scope of work, so now IT's having to run networking cable and Wi-Fi antennas to their equipment to get the gates onto the city's access control network. We don't have an ETA on that. We're working with the IT director to get that stuff done. But all the gate openers are installed. All but one gate is installed, and that's the one by the Allsup's hangar, because they can't hang the new gate until they get the old gate, the old card reader and everything on. So I'm trying to get them to just use the old stuff until the new stuff comes up, but they're having trouble with, because the system's so old, it's not compatible with the new openers. Next is the Pappy Lighting. We're still waiting on Bigsby to give us a start date. We talked to the owner of Bigsby at the New Mexico Aviation Conference, and he got on his supplier. And apparently the Pappy lights got in last week, so we're just waiting on them to give us a date when they can start.
How long to completion once they start?
We don't even have that yet. There's so much unknown out there. I can tell you 3 months and it'll go 6 months. So
It's encouraging that we do have them in our possession.
yes. Well, Bigsby has them
Okay.
in Albuquerque, but they're here. The airport equipment building, it's all complete except for the garage door openers. We're still waiting on those, which are back ordered. Terminal flooring project. That project started last week. We ran into an issue where the new tiles didn't match up really well with the newer tiles. The older new tiles were done with the TSA renovation, and now they're all darkened. So when they bought the same type of tiles, it's extremely lighter. So they're trying to see if they can get the same color match, and then we'll redo that hallway. If not, we'll have to strip it and try to wax it to get it as light as possible. The issue with those type of tiles is you order this one tile and it comes with a different color palette, and then the next one could be a little lighter or it could be a little darker. So that's what we're running into with that issue. We expect the new tiles to be complete by this week. They put the glue down today. after the afternoon flight, and they got to let it dry a little bit, get tacky, and then they're going to finish some of it tonight and then the rest in the morning. Terminal roof repair. Nick Grego was having issues finding someone local to give us a quote due to some issues that happened years ago. So they had to get a company from Albuquerque to come out and take measurements and hopefully give us a quote to replace that roof. We're just waiting on that estimate. And then on Friday, we had a guy from WWRC come out and take a look at the roof and get measurements again. So hopefully we can get something from our local guys and not have to farm it out. Parking lot expansion. We're still waiting on Nick Grego to come out and do the footings for the administration building in the new location. They told me that it should be this week, but they also told me that for last week also. So just whenever they get time to come out and pour some footings, we'll have some footings and we can move that building. New beacon install. So we installed the new LED beacon on top of the water tower, which is the highest point on the airport. FAA requires that airport beacons be in an area where it is not obstructed 360 degrees around it. At the old location, it was obstructed by the water tower, trees, and even the small water tower was a slight obstruction. The new beacon, we've gotten reports that they can see it up to 30 miles away. No, wait. Beyond 30 miles, sorry. Beyond 30 miles. So it doesn't, if you know how they do it, they do it to where the beams go kind of upward. So it doesn't, shine in anyone's window. I mean, if you look out the window, you can see it, but it doesn't shine in your window, and it stays elevated, so it doesn't. So pilots can see it more than 30 miles away. The old beacon, I got pictures of when we took that down. We took that down August 31st. The old beacon. It wasn't ideal for the terminal expansion, whether when we build the new terminal or we expand the old terminal. I don't want to throw that out there, but it's a possibility. We'll have more room. The lighting vault is next to be moved over by the maintenance building, so we can have more room to either expand or build. The new beacon, again, it's LED. Lower maintenance costs, it's brighter, and it's in a more optimal location for the airport. And just in case anybody wanted to know, the old beacon was 5 feet, 600 pounds. The new beacon is 75 pounds. Just in case you wanted to know.
That's incredible.
Should put the old one in a museum.
Well, what my plans is, when we build the new terminal, is to have it as like a centerpiece. When you walk in, you see the old beacon, and you'll see a little bit of history when you go around it. I think that'd be cool.
Do we know how long it's been there and the entire history behind it? Because that's a pretty cool story to tell.
That beacon, it got installed 2001.
Oh.
That's what the tag says. I was hoping that it would have been the original beacon, and we could put a story on it, but that one, either it was refurbished in 2001 or it's brand new from 2001. It's still in pretty good shape.
We'll go with refurbished for now.
Okay. 2022 Wings and Wheels. Again, that's going to be October 1st of this year from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It is a free event for attendees. It's free for cars and aircraft to come out, show off. We got Cannon Air Traffic Control Tower. They're going to come and do a presentation on the local airspace and some safety concerns for pilots. We couldn't get the FAA fast team to come out this year. They have another event to go to, so we were going to have both Cannon and the FAA do presentations, but it's just going to be Cannon. It's going to be good, especially for people who fly. Let everybody know about the restricted airspaces we have around here, some of the MOAs, and Cannon's airspace, which is, something we want to be mindful of as we fly over it. The 26th STS, which is the Special Taxi Squadron at Cannon, we're in talks to do a live drop demonstration, which they'll go up in the C-130, they'll jump out, the parachutes. It's about 95% a go. So, it's going to be fun.
So are we gonna get the C-130 to land back at the airport and
We're hoping,
public?
it's not an issue, but it depends on what the winds are going to do that day. So if we have high winds, I don't think they're going to land. They gave us two plans for action. So one is they're going to drop the jumpers, do a flyby, land, pick them up, take them back to Cannon. The other one is they'll drop them, do a couple passes, and then go back to Cannon, and the guys who jumped will get a ride back to Cannon. So they'll have a ground crew that'll be able to transport them back. So it all depends on the winds that day. So this year we're expecting more cars, more planes, and more people. And we do need more food vendors. Right now we have a couple, and we'll need several more. And Vicky's working on that. Vicky and Kim from the chamber.
I have seen advertisements on social media and I think in the newspaper as well. And so anyways, kudos for starting early, and with the excitement that we generated last year, it's going to be a fun event, no doubt about it. So
Time to update you guys on the ops. Our passenger employment numbers for August was 1,024, bringing our total to 8,478 employments, and we're a little over 1,500 more for 10,000, which gives us that $1 million earmark in the FAA's eye. So something to be excited about. Fuel sales. Year to date, we're over $1.2 million in fuel sold at the airport. Last month, we moved 4,301.7 gallons of 100 low lead and 22,380 gallons of Jet A. So we're moving right along. Our fuel price compared to the rest of the country, we're at $6.69 for 100 low lead. Our region price is $7.01, and the national average is $7.28 on 100 low lead. Jet A, we're at $6.04. The region, $6.79, and the national average is $7.04 for Jet A. So we're well below the region and the national averages. And that is all I have on the updates.
fantastic. All right, got that completed. Let's move into old business. Last month we had a discussion regarding the monthly fuel billing. And so James, would you give us a recap of that?
We spoke to some pilots who said yay or nay. Most pilots don't care. The main push came from one pilot who owns a private hangar. He's just adamant about, I don't want to put a card on file. So that's where our main push came from. There's no benefit to the city. There's a small risk, just in case someone, doesn't pay. We're not a credit company, so.
And Mr. Chairman, members of the board, And James and I have talked about it, and we talked about kind of the history of the city of Clovis being in the credit business. For example, out at the landfill, we used to allow individual businesses to charge, and there was a time when individuals would owe us upwards of $10,000, and we never received payment on those. And it came down to, why are we extending lines of credit to individuals when we certainly don't have to do that in the modern world that we live in? And so the same kind of applied to the airport. Obviously, with people being able to put credit cards on file or use fuel cards, however they choose, that we just simply don't need to be in that business. And it seems to be working fine. As James mentioned, there's only one pilot that's adamant about not having that, and ultimately that's his decision on how he wants to purchase his fuel. So we would not recommend changing it over to a fuel and us going back into allowing individuals to charge.
So do I hear a motion for action or recommendation to the Greater City Council?
And Mr. Chairman, we would, if y'all choose not to move forward, it won't go to the city commission for final approval.
Okay. So we don't need any action
We
on that
just,
item.
if you, for us to be able to go back and say, we brought this to the Civil Aviation Board, they chose not to move forward with the city of Clovis reverting back to allowing individuals to charge, and the city invoicing for that.
I move we just leave it as it is.
No voice of opposition. I think we can take and just move forward then.
Can we get a vote, Mr. Chairman, please?
Oh, you need to vote on that?
Yes, sir.
I'm confused.
You have
So,
you have a motion. Do we have a second?
motion, do I have a second?
Second that.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right. Our recommendation is to leave it as it is. New business, discussion and action regarding fuel purchase MOU with Denver Air Connection.
Denver Air would like to purchase fuel from us exclusively. That means on both their routes, they'll fuel in the morning, they'll fuel in the afternoon, and they'll fuel in the morning again before the flight. They're estimating that they would purchase 225,000 gallons a year, but they want it at 30 cents into plane, which is our cost plus 30 cents plus tax. And that gives us a net profit of $67,500 a year.
And James, you said 220 gallons per year. You meant per fueling, per trip?
No, 225,000 gallons a year.
Okay. Thank you.
I didn't say that?
Oh, you said it right. I wrote it down.
Okay.
What was the profit, like you said net profit versus like what would be like the status quo profit that we would generate from not doing it? I'm just curious.
I just calculated up 30 cents times
Okay,
225,000.
gotcha.
That's the best accounting I can do. I don't. I'm sure Leanne has some formula that she uses. You know.
What's the markup now? When they purchase it now, what's the markup?
The markup is the agreed upon is 60 cents. The issue they run into is we're not competing with what they're getting in Denver and Dallas. Dallas seems to be lower than Denver right now, and they said getting us to that 30 cents would allow us to compete. Will actually be lower, and they'll purchase their fuel exclusively, giving us that $67,000 a year profit, and that's just profit.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Harris, do you have any figures, or can you kind of speak to what does that do to you at the airport? I mean, do you have to have additional staff, or do you have existing staff that are going to work more hours in order to accomplish this? I mean, $67,000 in profit on what I'm going to imagine is millions in sales, right? It's just not that's a pretty slim margin. Will you have added expense in order to accomplish it?
No, there's no added expense. Our guys are there from 7 to 5. fuel loads are the same price. We go by a weekly fuel load price now. So every week our fuel prices change, either up or down cents or, 10 cents sometimes. But we're not doing anything extra right now to facilitate that, because sometimes they get fuel, sometimes they don't. This would allow us to fuel them every day with no extras from us. We're there, we're already, fueling, so.
And the 225,000 gallons per year, does that help us get to the next level of a volume discount? And does that help us make more money in other areas?
Not necessarily. Avfuel goes by rack price. So whatever their rack price is per gallon, it's going to stay that. They won't give us a discount because we bought 1 million gallons of fuel that year. They go by, this is what our price is this week. Next week it'll be what it is next week. So there's no benefit on that side of it.
And that's something that we actually had to put an RFP out, and so they bid how they would price that, and so it, as James said, it's based off that rack price.
Mr. Chairman, so there was an RFP process for this?
For the fuel.
For the fuel.
So
For-
the fuel supplier?
Yeah, for our fuel
Yes.
supplier.
Okay, so the fuel supplier has been able to consider all of this, and so we know for sure there would be no break points for.
No, they have their plants are relatively close, maybe an hour or two away, and they don't just deal with us. They deal with airports and all over the country. So we're in a good spot. The only benefit really to us is the profits from the sales, and we'll because Denver Air, they told me they want to help out Clovis as much as possible, but he broke down all the numbers on the fuel numbers and the accounting stuff that I don't understand. He broke it all down for me, and I said, I understand. So they're spending over $1 million on fuel, and if they can save a little bit here, then it'll help them out in the bottom line, and they can keep the flights cheaper, and so it's all about how we help each other.
Well, at first glance, that just seems like a really small amount of profit for what could be a large undertaking. However, if it's been vetted, if it's been considered, I like the idea and concept, because I think Denver Air has been such a fantastic partner for the city and for this community, and love what they have going on. So, I'm in favor of doing whatever it is that would, have them in a position to do more here. So, I like the idea.
And Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we've done separate contract fuel sales in the past with our carriers for the EAS. When Boutique was here, we actually had an agreement with them for fuel sales and what we would charge them, and it was different than what we charge the general public from a markup standpoint. So it's not something that we haven't done before. And as James said, if our employees are out there already performing their services and duties, there is no extra expense to us. The cost of the fuel itself is always a pass-through to the consumer themselves. So if we got a discount from a volume standpoint, we would still charge our same markup. It would be cheaper in general to everyone, but the city of Clovis would still mark it up the same no matter what.
Well, and I like mutually beneficial relationships, and to the mayor's point, this has definitely been one with Denver Air, and they have invested in our community and are helping us accomplish our goals as well. And so it seems to be in line with the relationship and the good things that have come from it so far.
What's the term of the MOU? Is it an annual deal or the term?
They didn't specify, but I would assume it's the length of the EAS contract, which is 4 years.
Okay.
We got 3 more years on that thing now.
They just renewed.
It was renewed
So,
in March or
yeah.
April or something?
Yeah, it just renewed.
Oh, it seems like a long time ago.
Mr. Chairman, so is there an MOU language already in place? Okay. And did Denver Air propose that language?
Yes, it's on their letterhead. You want me to read it to you?
No.
Okay.
No.
I'm sorry.
That's not necessary. But, so if this board wanted to recommend entering into the MOU, then would our legal look at the MOU and get
He
it in
already
front of the-
has.
He already
Yeah,
has?
yeah,
Okay.
Mr. Morris has already reviewed it as well.
Okay.
And this particular item we would take to the city commission for final approval.
Very good.
So with that being said, we need action.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the MOU as discussed.
It's been moved
I'll second.
and seconded that we approve the MOU as discussed. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. The next item is the discussion and action regarding a price markup of pilot supplies and merchandise. Mr. Harris.
Yes. So, as you may know, airplanes use a lot of oil. FBOs around the country, they sell pilot supplies, oil, fuel strainers, pilot logbooks, flashlights, glasses, you name it, they sell it. We have oil now, but we need to get approval for how much of a markup we're going to charge. I got with a couple FBOs in Sky Aviation, and they're all averaging about a 20% markup on their products. So I'm proposing that we start a new, I don't know what you call it, line item for pilot supplies of 20% markup.
Do most of these products have a suggested retail price?
No.
And from your perspective, where will these products be sold?
In the FBO. We'll, right now we have it on our FBO board. It shows that, we have two types of oil. We're getting a third, which is 100 weight. And we got Phillips 66 and Aero Shell, and then we'll get the 100 weight. And then pilots will see that on the boards, and they'll say, hey, give me a quart of oil. So.
And the city is prepared with inventory tracking systems and point of sale and all of the other things required to.
Yes, we're using our new program FBO Director, which it's a POS, same thing we use for fueling and any of the services that we provide for the FBO. So I just put it in, put the taxes on it, and it's ready to go. We just need approval to sell it. Point of sale.
Mr. Chairman, I think I like Mr. Harris's suggestion. I'd be interested in any thoughts you have as a pilot and traveling around and visiting other airports and FBOs. I mean, does this make sense? I mean,
I think it's long overdue
okay.
for this airport. You go to other airports, they have these things that you can take in, everything from aviation maps to pilot supplies, logbooks, so on and so forth. And that's something that in my history at Clovis that we have never provided. And I think it's just one more service and one more thing that keeps people coming through the door. And once we can get them through the door, well, then we can show them the friendly community and that it's a gateway to the rest of the good things that Clovis has to offer. And so I would be in support, as a pilot, be in support.
That's great to hear. And I think, it's just another opportunity to provide more service at the airport and, generate more revenue and just build upon the great momentum you have going. But you're looking for action regarding the markup. And so you've done some research and have found out that 20% markup is about average.
Yes, sir.
How many FBOs did you check with?
3. Cutter, in Albuquerque, Millionaire in Lake Charles, and Sky Aviation, and Lubbock Arrow.
Well, that's great. I mean, that sounds like great, information gathering. I don't know if by policy we need to establish it, that, your markup should be X. I think that the airport should, be in the market on these types of products and supplies. But I mean, if we wanted to, as a board, talk about a markup.
Yeah, and Mr. Chairman, Mayor, we always do get approval
Okay.
from the boards. For example, we're going into Revenue Review Committee here in the next couple of weeks. And that's another mechanism we use to set our fees that are associated with the various departments across the city. So whether or not it's on supplies or fees or that's just the process we utilize to establish what those are going to be.
Sounds okay, Mr. Howalt, but so are we looking for a maximum markup that we would allow the airport to place on these types of items?
If you tell us 20%, we will mark them up 20%.
Okay.
And I guess that goes back, I cannot imagine that some of these products that we're going to have do not have a suggested retail price. And so I would hate to find that our 20% put us above the suggested retail price and put us out of the market. And so from my perspective, I would say 20% or the suggested retail price, whichever the higher of is.
Absolutely. That's something that we can work with.
Any more discussion?
No, none on that.
I would move, I'll make the motion that the airport use a 20% or the lower of the suggested retail price for the supplies and merchandise that Mr. Harris is providing out at the airport.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded that we will maintain 20% or the suggested retail. So do I have all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Same sign. Motion passes. Moving on to the next, discussion and action regarding digital advertising at the Clovis Regional Airport. Mr. Harris.
I'm going to get it right this time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. Are you proud of me, Vicki? Thank you. Okay, digital advertising. Airports make a lot of money off of advertising. That's another revenue stream that we can use to bring in more revenue. We have these screens in the terminal. They were on until the power went out, and no one ever turned them back on. So we're going to turn those back on. I noticed that today. So those screens are set up to where we can put pictures, videos on them, and IT set it up in slides. So if you think of Microsoft PowerPoint, when you press that button and it goes through the slides, it basically works the exact same way. So with that, we're able to put digital marketing on there. I'd like to sell advertising space on those computers, $25 a month, and that will give you. We got to work out the details on the timing. IT set it up on a time loop, but they told me about the time loop months ago, and I can't remember what it was. But there's like 12 slides, and it reverts back every 20 minutes, which Stephen can tell you. He the one hooked it up.
It is 19 slides.
19 slides.
The 20th slide is the
Alejandro Mayorkas.
with the see something, say something. Then after that, there's 19 slides, and at the 10th slide, there's an announcement from James that lasts for, I believe, 30 seconds. Each slide runs about a minute.
What he said. So that gives you 1 minute every 20 minutes for advertising.
Could we add slides? To provide information on the city services and, in other words, free advertising for the city in there somewhere.
No, the city has to pay.
Do that.
They have to pay. Yes, we've used it for the Wings and Wheels poster. We can also use it for city stuff. We can
City events, in other words, local events and,
Yes.
and things like that. Yeah.
And I want to put a screen in the FBO that would have the same stuff on it. So Mr. Steven can come and install that too. But yes, we're able to manipulate it as we need. So we can put almost anything on there.
And the price for someone to advertise is $25
$25 a month
for one slide that will loop.
every 20 minutes.
How soon do you think you'll have that up?
It's too cheap.
It's already ready to go.
It's ready to go?
Yes.
Too cheap.
Too cheap?
That's some cheap advertisement.
In my opinion.
Yeah, Kelsey called around, and that's how we landed at the $25.
How many?
We're happy to charge whatever you guys, so if you think it's $100.
You called around to people who want to advertise, right?
What would be
Just
the
checking.
term of the contract? In other words, one slide on a loop every 20 minutes or so for how long? 30 days or 2 weeks or?
Well, since it's a monthly charge, it would run for the month. And so if you wanted to re-up the next month, you certainly could.
Does it have to be like a finite number, or can it just be charge X and then just let James make the decision on, or you guys make the decision on how much you want to charge per month? Does it have to be a cap, or?
I mean, we definitely, once again, prefer
Okay.
a number. So,
Well, I think the question that comes to mind, though, is if you, with that type of cheap advertisement, you may have a waiting list and people may be waiting a long time to try to get on there to get some advertisement. So
Well,
would you
start at
rotate them in,
25,
or
and if it really gets popular, we can always
yeah,
revisit it?
increase the revenue based on how much is being used.
And I would argue the other way, that we should start at 50 because it's easier to go down. If you can't get them, then to have a waiting list and people that can't get on, and you end up with frustration from businesses in the community.
Should we go higher?
25, so 20 slides. I'm sure there's 20 businesses in town, to their point, that would gladly advertise.
And what,
I would think there's 20 that would gladly put $600 a year in advertising at the airport for the benefit of their business.
I would agree with that. What was the frequency of, I thought I paid attention to the explanation on the slides and
Every 20
Every
minutes?
20
Every
minutes.
20
every
minutes.
20 minutes.
1 minute. 1 minute slide every 20 minutes.
Okay, so, all right. So obviously that's going to be diluted by, if you had 20 businesses that want to do this. I mean, or are you just going to do one?
You'd have 19, I believe Steven said 19 slides?
Yeah, there's 20 slides total.
Yeah.
One slide is for the TSA see something, say something,
Okay. so you've
which I
already-
found out we don't need to play that anymore, so we have 20 slides total.
Your ad is going to
Okay,
be
so-
up for 1 minute on
every-
a 20-minute cycle.
Okay.
And so, I guess, if you went from 20 slides to 40 slides, it's going to change that number. So, that becomes a question of once we get into this and maybe start looking at the program and seeing how successful it is, maybe you do go from 20 slides to 40 slides, because it's a PowerPoint presentation. I mean, you can have as many slides or as few slides as you want. And so if you wanted to change the number of slides, or you keep it at that premium market saying, hey, we only have available for 20, is something that we could consider. We're dipping our toes into the pool on this
Yeah,
one.
you're dipping your toes there. This is kind of experimental.
Yep.
You're giving it a try. So I think a good place to start would be $50, and then I think perhaps details that this board doesn't need to discuss, but maybe think about that PowerPoint not being just 20 slides in a row of businesses that are sponsoring. But I liked our member Verdell's suggestion. Maybe there's some information about city attractions, whether it be the zoo or what have you, to kind of break those up, so it's not just one business slide after the next.
And I agree. And I think obviously with the ability and what we've already proven is we can put videos up there. And so
Yes.
There's obviously lots of options for us out there. And so I think it's a great idea to also market the city itself, as you see in other terminals across the country, and then marketing whatever city that they're in, us taking that opportunity to do that as well, as provide businesses with advertising opportunities.
And that makes me think, should we charge more for someone wanting a video instead of a poster? I call it a poster. I can't think of what it's called, but
Yeah, just a static ad. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Harris, that made me think as well. You're going to have a business that perhaps is thinking about how to stand out among the 20 slides, and so they're going to want to do a video. Obviously, the city isn't going to produce that video for them. It would need to be provided on a certain standard,
Yes.
and have you run that. So your question was charge more for a video advertisement?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm asking because it'll be the same amount of time on the slide, whether it's a poster or a video.
Yeah, I think you're selling that space on that screen, whatever it is that the business is, putting there. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
I agree.
Justin, would the city, if I wanted to advertise as a business, I would sign a contract with the city?
Yeah, so we'll work with council to generate terms and conditions of what that advertisement would be.
Because, I was concerned about the liability issues if someone advertises something that's not true, or, what's the city's liability?
Can we put,
Unless it was in the contract, somehow specified in the contract, to limit the city's exposure.
And that's something that we can work with, like I said, we're with council and review to come up with those terms and conditions and what they look like, and make sure that there's language that obviously protects the city, but also doesn't allow somebody to put something out there that's potentially distasteful.
Just to expose the city to some sort of liability.
Yeah.
But I guess we could start with $50 and kind of see where it goes. And maybe, like you said, we can come down, easier to come down.
and I would suggest a caveat in here that says that this recommendation is good for a year, and at the end of 12 months, we reserve the right to review and to reevaluate this program one way or another.
Yeah, and if it's greatly successful and we do have those waiting lists, I mean, there's nothing that precludes us from coming back to this board in 2 months, 3 months to reevaluate. Or if the opposite is true.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that's Mr. Chairman, I think that this is a good starting place, and and a great idea. And in the future, when we have a new large airport terminal, this will the details of this will matter a whole lot more. At this point, you know, businesses are going to be, there will be businesses that would be interested in advertising out there. There would be others that might say, well, you know, I only have however many folks are waiting for the plane 2 times a day, you know, and really start splitting hairs. But I think this is a great place to start and get some experience with it and see where it goes.
So with that being said, do I have a motion?
A motion that we charge $50 per slide for 1 minute and revisit that as we see fit.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded that we charge $50 for 1 minute advertising, and we can reevaluate that at any point in time in the future. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Is there any other discussion or any other items that anybody wants to bring up at this point? Seeing none.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I would add, since we're on date, time, and place of next meeting.
Yes, sir.
And something just to propose for y'all's consideration and to fill you out is, right now, this board meets on a monthly basis, and sometimes we have more on the agenda, and sometimes we have a lot less on the agenda. And so we have other boards and committees that meet at least quarterly. If we needed to have a meeting, we could obviously schedule one before that quarterly date, but just wanted to get some feedback and thoughts on changing this to a quarterly meeting versus a monthly meeting.
Is this the most stuff that we've discussed and actioned on in the last, 6 months, 8 months maybe?
Yeah.
By far.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it ebbs and flows with what all is happening out at the airport, obviously. And like I said, we do have, I think we just recently changed our Water Policy Advisory Committee to a quarterly meeting versus a monthly meeting. But once again, those are always subject to be called at the will of the chair if we needed to. So sounding like that may be something y'all would entertain. We could certainly start working on the ordinance with the city of Clovis. I believe it's in there by ordinance, but to change that, and then that would change our monthly meeting dates to quarterly meeting dates.
I certainly like the idea of a quarterly meeting I would like to keep a monthly report in from the airport director. We've been getting that, and I do think it's very valuable, but having to come to this location to receive it is not necessary, in my opinion. And so,
Yeah.
absolutely, from the chair's perspective,
Yeah.
it would be a good thing.
100% agree with you, Mr. Chairman. So
we'll work on that, and then of course, Mr. Harris will always send out those monthly reports.
For sure.
Yes, I've been working on it since I've been here, but I haven't been able to put it together. A monthly newsletter that I want to start doing for the tenants. So I can give you a separate report, or I can finally stop procrastinating and finish that one. However.
I don't know that I have a strong preference one way or another, as long as the information is relevant to the task at hand. All right, thank you for that. Seeing nothing else, we are adjourned.